Today, you're going to be learning how to make this glass cube in Blender. Hope you enjoy. To start off with, I'm going to be in Blender 2.93. I'm going to make a new general, and I'm going to open it up. And obviously we have the start off with the default cube. We are not going to delete this, and we're going to add another cube. We are going to scale this up to about here. I'd say about 4. Then scale S, then Z to scale down to about there. Then we're gonna click on the X-axis here. Move down by clicking G and then Z until it matches about the bottom of the cube. You could also use this magnifying tool to latch onto faces like so. And then we are going to go to the bottom view like this. Look in edit mode for the rectangle ear prism. Go into the faces, click on the bottom face, and click I for insert. Insert until about here. You can either move this down or keep it as is. I'm going to move it down just a tiny bit. I'd say about -0.2 for me. And then E for extrude. I'm going to extrude that face as much as you want, pretty much, but for me it's going to be about 3.5. There we go. Alright, now we have the basic models down. We're going to start moving on to the materials and the shading. We're going to click Tab to get out of edit mode. Click on the cube, and then at the top we're going to click on shading. Here is where we do the materials. You could also do materials in the tab on the right side, but this is more basic stuff, and if you want to use nodes, you can't really do it in here. So in the bottom part here of when you're on the shader tab, you can start making the nodes. First off, delete the principal BSDF and add in a glass BSDF. Make sure that you have the color is white, the drop down as Beckman, and the IOR is set to 1.5. Then you're going to add in a mix node and set the drop down to mix. Make sure clamp is off. Faculty is at 0.5. And for the two things going into that, we're going to have for the first one, for the color 1, we're going to have color ramp. So this is a simple color ramp with two little colors. Black is at the very end, and white is near the middle, pretty much. You can customize this to make sure it looks like what you want. And then after, just before that, we're going to have a noise texture. We're going to have set to 3D, scale 3.1, detail 1.8, roughness 0.7. For me it's 0.773, but that's very specific. And I had it distortion at 0, but you can all customize all of these to whatever you want. It's just changing the type of texture of the noise pattern here on the cube. So you can make that whatever you want depending on what you are making, especially this different size depending on the size of what you're making. So it could be like a really big thing, and you might want to have the pattern be smaller than it. And for the color 2, we're going to have another color ramp where the white and black are right up next to each other, and then make sure that you have the color going on both of these. Make sure you have the color going into the colors into the mix node, and not the alpha. Make sure it's set to RGB and linear. Noise texture is, we're going to have a noise texture after that, and we're going to have it 3D. Scale is -4.4, detail is 0, roughness is also 0, and distortion is negative 0.3. Again, you can customize all of those to fit what you want in your cube. And at the end, of course, you're going to have a material output. Don't change that. And all of that is going to plug into the surface, not the volume or the displacement, just the surface. And that should cover the glass part of the cube. And now we're going to move on to the glowing part in the middle. Just make sure, if you want to see it as glass, if you have a pretty good PC, you can go to the render viewport shading. And obviously in Eevee you're just gonna look like a metal cube pretty much. And if you want to have the glass, you gotta go change the render engine on the right to cycles, and it should look a bit more like glass. It is gonna look very noisy at first. These dots are what are called fireflies, but we're gonna fix that later with what's called clamping. Moving back into object mode, we're going to add another cube just by doing Shift A, mesh, and then cube. Scale it down to about 0.5, so just halving the size. And we're going to add a material for it by going to the, since we're already in the shader tab, we can just go here at the bottom and just click new. This should bring you up a principal BSDF and a material output, a simple startup thing. But what you're going to do is delete the principal BSDF, Shift A to add a new node, search for the emission node. We're going to plug this into the surface. There we go. Change the color to whatever you want. Later on I do add in a rainbow sort of thing, so this might not be by keyframing the color, but if you just want to do one color, you can just change the color here. I'm gonna do like a pinkish reddish kind of thing. You can go into the render preview to see if it's what you want. I wouldn't do that yet though, because we're gonna add a light source in at the moment. So back into object mode, select the light. If you can't find the light, then just look on the right hand side here, look for the light, and then just click X to delete. Okay. Shift A, go down all the way to light, and you're adding a spotlight. This is just like in shows when they have a big light shining down on their character or whatever they're focusing on, big spotlight, and this kind of just directs the light just to what you're looking at. Right now the power is quite low, so I'm going to go to the light properties down on the right side here, and where it says watts, I'm going to set the lights to about, let's say, until you can see, until you can pretty much see it happening. Go up a little bit more. Make sure you turn this off so it doesn't get in your way. Alright. Just so that we can actually see everything, how it will end up, we're going to go to the bottom, we're going to change it from object to world. Delete this background node. And you can keep it like that, but I like to add an RGB node. Put the color into the surface and just drag the white all the way down till it's black. This makes it look a lot more dramatic, and it's how you will end up doing it in the end. Okay, now we're going to go out of that world shader, back in, we're going to click onto this podium, kind of the second cube that we added, and we're going to add a new one, and you're going to keep the principal BSDF, keep all the defaults on that, but for the base color, you're going to add in a color ramp, and for the two colors you're going to have a black and pretty much a medium gray. The black is going to be about 1/3 in, and the gray is going to be right at the end. Make sure you have it set to linear and RGB. and then before that, you're going to add a noise texture. You're going to plug the faculty into the faculty for the color ramp. Noise texture should stay 3D. The scale should be -8. Wait, hang on. I'm in the middle of the animation. I should probably go back to the start. Okay. Yeah, so -8.4. Detail should be 3.7. Roughness 0.5 and distortion 0.9. Again, this is all very specific because I was just playing around and sliding around. You should probably try and find whatever's right for you, but this is what I did. So if you want to get the exact look that I did, that's what I did. Then you are going to go to the light again. You're going to go to the light, because you should be able to see the texture on that podium. And we're going to turn the power on the light on the right here side. We're going to turn the power up a lot until you can actually, like a lot, until you can start seeing the texture of it. And it's cool. It kind of creates this little marble, dusty kind of effect. And then we're going to click back onto the main cube. We're going to, since you might notice that it's kind of reflecting off the edges a bit, so like around here, but in the actual render it isn't there, and that's because we add a modifier for this main cube. Add a modifier, and you go down to solidify. And for this, you might want to go back into object mode. Click this little button here, which turns it into X-ray. So now you can see how much you're solidifying it. You can change this however much you want. I think I'm going to play around for a little bit. Here that looks a bit too much. You do want to have a little bit of color. Right about there is good for me. In fact, it's probably best if you have like that, so pretty much 0.25. But again, it's what you want best. We're gonna go back into render mode so we can see it. So this also creates this thing on the edge, so you can actually see that it's not hollow on the inside. It's actually solid a little bit. And this removes that really playful color. It makes it more ominous again. And now I'm gonna play around with the light a little bit, just so that it doesn't. Or we could probably just scale this up. Doesn't really matter. Just so that you can't really see where the little podium ends, so it kind of makes it more. There we go. So now it goes on forever, blends in with the background, and then I'm going to probably looks good enough right now, and we can probably start doing the camera work and the animation. I've just noticed, I don't know why, but this cube, the main cube, is going down underneath the podium, so just click G and make sure you select both of them. So either cube and then cube 2 on the right hand side, and just click, or just in the actual viewport, then click G and then Z, and again you might want to be using the magnet tool and just match it to the closest one. Doesn't really matter if it's a little bit under, nobody's really going to notice. It's best to go under than over, because then you'll notice when the camera is going around, you can notice a little bit of a gap. It doesn't really look that good, so it's better to just have it under to make it look a bit better. Okay, now moving on to the animation. For the camera orbiting around the cube, we're going to select the cube, go into edit mode, select all, I think it's in this, F3, origin, actually go into object mode, then make sure you have it selected, F3, then origin to geometry, and then what we're going to do is F3 again, 3D cursor, cursor to active. Cursor to selected. Yeah, there we go. So now I've moved it into the middle of the cube. I'm going to add okay, so then we're going to add an empty. So empty plane axis, whatever. Scale, make sure you can see them like that. And then we are going to select camera, then the cube, I think. Control P, object, oh, not that. Camera, empty, Control P, object. There we go. So now when we rotate the empty, which is in the middle of the cube, we are also rotating the camera. So as you do that, like so, you can make an orbit like this. So we are going to select this point. I'm going to go back to layout so that you can see the timeline down the bottom here. We're going to select, go on to frame 1. Just go to auto keying, makes it easier. And if you want to start, just rotate to wherever you want to start. I'm going to start it here just because it is there already. And then I'm going to set a keyframe here, so just go R and then don't move, just press click, and that should make a keyframe there at the beginning. Play it to wherever you want it to stop, so however long you want it to be for a full rotation. So just imagine it in your head going around. For me that was about 60. So I'm going to go on the Z, and I'm going to go -359. So now it's 1 degree off, and then when it goes back, oh, you got to make sure also that your end matches, so it's back at 60, and you select both the keyframes, you go to interpolation mode, and you go to linear. This makes it a constant movement rather than an so rather than going from slow to fast to slow, you want just to be a constant movement like this at the same speed. Alright, so we're noticing a little bit of, try this. Alright, good, that is seamless. And that is it for the camera motion. So if you go into the render view or just the EV, the previous, you can see that it is working pretty well. Then we are going to animate the colors and the color and the size of the ball, the thing, the emission inside, so that we can change it, make it a little bit more ominous, and make it add detail to the render. Alright, we're going to go back onto the emission cube, and we're going to go into the shading tab again to animate the color of the cube. Again, you don't have to do this, but it is what I did, and I think it would add a very cool thing. It doesn't have to be rainbow, it can just be a certain amount of colors, but this is how you animate the colors on the shape. So maybe it's best to do it in layout. So we're going to go back to layout, make sure you're out of camera view. Then we're going to go, make sure you have the emission cube selected. And we're going on the timeline. We got the color over here. We're going to add a keyframe there. Then maybe about here you want it to be blue, and then over here you want it to be like a yellowish kind of color, and then here you want it to be like a green color, and then you can probably just move those around a bit, and then you're going to get the first one again, and you're going to Shift D to duplicate, and just move that to the last frame, not the second last, the last. Just give that a play, and it should be seamless. Just do this, press slash to make it just so that you can see the cube, so that you don't see everything else, and make it render faster. You can see if it's seamless. There we go. And then that is the color done, so you can just go back into render view and press slash again to get out of that view. And we have the rainbow, or whatever you want to do with it, color. And now we can also animate the size by doing a similar thing. So just go click on the cube again, and then you want to maybe go on frame. You can do completely random. You can just go like frame 1, you have it like this big. Then you go a bit further on, and then maybe it's this big, then this big. So then you have your, if you press slash again, you have your size again, like that. Yeah, so you can also change the strength of the emission by doing the same kind of thing. I'm just going through and animating like that. But this is pretty good for now. The last thing you might want to do is for the podium. You might want to change the how the texture. So if I just press slash here, go into this view, you can see how it is animating like that. This might look a bit weird on its own, but if you press the camera view, you can see you can't really see it, and it just looks a bit, I don't know, adds a bit of motion to it. But if you don't like that, you don't have to do it. I just like the way it looks like that. You can do that by going, if you go back into the shading one, make sure you have it selected. With the noise texture node, you just want to change the scale of it and just change the roughness and distortion. You could also, on the noise texture, you can press Control T, and that'll add a mapping node. So now you can rotate your texture, so up to you how you want to do it, even location like that. Make it look like it's blowing over in a desert. But that is mainly the that's pretty much all the animation stuff in this little render. Hope you enjoyed, and I might make some more of these in the future. Just leave a like if you want me to do that. Yeah, hope you have fun making it.